Shanti, everyone. Om Shanti, everyone. Greetings of peace and a warm welcome to New York City's Peace in the Park virtual series called Breathe Peace. We have decided to continue the series once a month until we can go to Central Park again. A little background on Peace in the Park. It's been going on for over 10 years in places like New York, England, San Francisco, Florida, Toronto, and the Netherlands. And it's all to promote expressions of peace and goodwill to all. This event is hosted by the Brahma Kumaris, a Raj Yoga meditation group that's based in Rajasthan, India, and it has spread out to 110 countries. For more information on the Brahma Kumaris, you can look at the chat. So in the last episodes of Breathe Peace, we explored some breathing techniques that will increase our overall well-being. In the next episodes, we will have a new focus to practice other techniques besides the breath that will also contribute to our inner peace and well-being. And we all know that we can use some inner peace right now more than ever. Guiding us on this journey today is our main presenter, Ariel Figueroa. Ariel Figueroa is an educator, facilitator, and health and wellness consultant who creates spaces of self-inquiry and healing. After receiving his master's degree in education from Hunter College, he taught in both public and private schools for about 6 years. And it was at this time that he began integrating his training and education with yoga, meditation, and other healing arts. And he created a company which designed nature-based retreats and programming for individuals and team development. Currently, his mission is to create transformational spaces for learning, healing, and growth by integrating self-discovery with embodiment practices. We welcome Ariel to teach the essential 5 C's we'll need for self-improvement today. And feel free to ask questions to Ariel on the chat. Ariel, you have our full attention. Welcome.
Thank you so much for this beautiful introduction, Cynthia, and thank you so much for having me. It's so wonderful to be here with all of you. And As she said, my name is Ariel Figueroa, and I'm the co-founder of and educational director of the Inheritance Project, which is an organization that facilitates transformational experiences to help you understand who you are, to bridge divides, both within ourselves and with others, and to create communities of belonging. And we work primarily with, in two ways, with both individuals and with companies and organizations, helping them create cultures of belonging that make more space for the kind of humanness and values that the Brahma Kumaris spread so beautifully. And today I'd like to talk a little bit about um, some tools that we use in our work that we find really helpful, especially in a time like right now when themes of identity are very tangible and present. And so before I jump in, I think there's a slide we can throw up, um, and I'd like to just take a moment to redefine the word inheritance for us. Usually when we think of inheritance, we may think of perhaps money or possessions, something that's passed down in a will. And on the next slide, you can see a new definition that we use, which is looking at inheritance as all the things that have been passed down to us, the culture, the behaviors, the traits, the stories that we've taken from previous generations. And one of the main kind of tenets of our work is that to create a conscious future, to create the future consciously for ourselves and for the world, that we have to understand our past and we have to understand who we are. And the theme for this workshop and for this episode is healing. And this has been a big part of my world for many years, um, formerly as a yoga teacher and as a massage therapist, and then a facilitator of healing spaces. And I was reflecting on this theme, and you know, right as of now, I think my definition of healing, in a very broad, general term, has become. I come to see it as a process of unblocking or releasing that serves to bring about rebalancing or a harmony, whether it be in the body, whether it be in an organization, whether it be in an ecosystem. And healing can look a lot of different ways to to a lot of different people. But this is kind of the general framework that I kind of think about when I think of healing. And as it relates to this work of exploring inheritance, um, I wanted to share a quote from James Baldwin, an amazing novelist and speaker from the 1960s, who says that we are trapped in history, and history is trapped in us. And what it kind of speaks to is the idea that that this healing process, um, that part of that is really about unpacking what we have been given. And if we want to transform what's blocking us from our past, from the things that we've taken on, that we have to investigate it. How did I get to this point in my life? What are the elements of myself and of my identity that I have inside of me? And so today I wanted to share a framework that we use to look at the self and the identity. And in the next slide, um, we can flip to the next one, and it's called the 5 C's of identity. And the 5 C's of identity is a framework for understanding identity that was developed by a sociologist named Kwame Appiah from NYU. And in his book, uh, The Lies That Bind, he describes this as a way of breaking down one's identity. And can go to the next slide. We can see the 5 C's broken down into these categories. And of course, the identity is something that is fluid. It's something that we both create, and it's also something that is projected onto us. And of course, as we know, all of these elements that we're looking at here are completely interwoven into each other, and they overlap. They're not distinct entities, but things that that are completely intersectional. But when we pull it apart, much like if we take a human being and we pull apart, for example, the soul, the spirit, the body, the mind, the intellect, we can start to look at them a little closer and use them as tools for reflection and understanding ourselves and others better. And so I wanted to share these with everyone today as a little snapshot of something that we find really useful in this reflection process, both to understand ourselves and others better. And so the first one is country, and this is the place that you were born or raised in. And for myself, for example, I was born in the United States, and I was born on the Upper West Side of Manhattan. And this will have a kind of can share a lot about the kind of experience that I had growing up. For example, in contrast to somebody who grew up in Siberia or in the Philippines. The second one is creed, which is the body of beliefs and practices and community that has comprised our spiritual or religious upbringing. For myself, I was raised Jewish. My father was from a Catholic background, and my mother was from a Jewish background, and they decided to raise me Jewish. And this is part of the mythology of spirituality that I was given, and then of course went in along a personal path, moving through many different spiritual traditions. Culture is the third C, which is the attitudes, behaviors, and characteristics of particular social groups. And this could be, for myself, I kind of identify my culture as kind of like a New York Jewish culture mixed with Puerto Rican Hispanic culture. And of course, culture is something that also overlaps, where many of us are part of many, many different cultures. We have a culture at work. We have a culture that our family has given us. And for the purposes of this distinction of these parts of identity, gender also falls into culture, which is something that is constructed. Gender as something that's constructed differently in different cultures. And the fourth one is color, the color of our skin, which is both something that's very, very simple in and of itself, and something that creates so much complexity in our world and in the way that we're treated by society. And so the color of my skin has been something that has influenced a lot of my experience as a person who's Puerto Rican. I kind of straddle two different worlds, both being able to pass as white, but also getting the privilege of being of certain opportunities that are afforded to me as a minority. So there's a lot of complexity here as well, and something that can be a big part of unpacking who we are. And the fifth one is class. This is the social hierarchies of income and education and status, which determine what groups we identify with and what we have access to in society. And so for the next minute, I would invite each of you to reflect on choosing one of these aspects of your identity, maybe perhaps the one that you might feel less inclined to talk about, or one that has some uncomfortable, some discomfort, kind of discussing, something that has maybe created some dynamic, dynamism in your life. And I'd like to invite you for a moment to close your eyes and plant your feet on the ground. And allow in your mind for you to conjure up a moment in time when this aspect of your identity made you feel disempowered. See if you can bring a time to mind where that aspect of your identity made you feel disempowered, and see if you can notice if you're in a particular place or with particular people, and notice what feelings come into your body. Notice where those feelings are, maybe where those sensations are. And then let that go. Let that memory go, and then maybe shake it off. Maybe bring a little shake into your shoulders, into your hands. Kind of let that out of your body. And now, I'd like to invite you to call into your mind a time when that aspect of your identity made you feel empowered. And notice what comes up. Notice that particular scene. Notice if you're with particular people. Notice if those sensations are somewhere in your body, maybe in your belly or your shoulders. And feel what that feels like. And then once again, take an inhale and an exhale and breathe it out. And once again, shake it off, shake it out of your body. Thank you for moving through that with me. And this exercise is one of many that we include in larger workshops. And it's designed to help us reflect on some of the ways in which our inheritance shapes who we are, and also show that a lot of these aspects of our identity live in our bodies, and there's a lot of research around trauma, for example, being transferred from generation to generation. And this is one particular framework we use to start investigating these aspects of our identity. And again, I offer this to you in two ways to take forward with you as a tool, at once to investigate your own identity and how you're carrying your identity with you and what you've inherited. Part of the process of healing there is that when we unearth these parts of ourselves and the stories that they are attached to, identifying these stories, we're able to let go of these stories and let go of beliefs that don't serve us. And the other way that we can perhaps use this tool is to understand the lives of others around us better, and reflect on how their experience may have been shaped by their inheritance, by the culture they come from, by the color of their skin, by the classes that they have come from, they have moved through. And in doing so, in looking and listening more fully at people in this way, we have an opportunity to connect more fully and invite more of the people around us to show up and make spaces that are inclusive and that people feel as they can belong. So I'm gonna pause there and once again say thank you so much for having me with you today and allowing me to share a little bit about this tool and this framework that we use in our work. And we have some time for questions, and I would welcome to hear from you and to share your thoughts and reflections in the chat. I'm happy to answer any questions.
There is one question someone put in the chat. Are the 5 C's superimposed on the true self, by Carolyn?
Are the 5 C's superimposed? Well, it's a very interesting question, and I feel like I would want to ask a bit more in how the exact nature of that question. But I think the first thing that comes to mind is that, at least in my personal opinion, I think that the true self is something that lives underneath the identity. I think that kind of goes into my spiritual purview, that there is a higher self underneath. Superimposed is an interesting word. I think in terms of how we wear identity, I think that some parts of our identity are things that we create and that we choose, and I think other parts of our identity are superimposed on us. I think it's when we see somebody as human beings, we create assumptions. So in many ways, people project onto us their ideas and their stories. And on the other hand, each one of us has the ability to create our identity as well. And at the Inheritance Project, we believe that, part of the mission of this work is really to empower us to create our identity and to create and hold on to stories that empower us. As for the true self, I think that is again, in my view, something that lives underneath that.
Well, thank you so much, Ariel, for that enlightening presentation. We really all felt like we belong, no matter what our background is. And the 5 C's, again, is country, creed, culture, color, class. And for some of us, the 5 C's of country, creed, culture, color, and class, it's very simple. And for others, it's a very complicated thing. But we know in the realm of spirituality and the underneath stuff, as Ariel pointed out, we're really all inclusive. So that's a really good thing. And thank you for getting us in touch with our 5 C's. That was wonderful exercise that we all did together. So at this time, thank you so much, Ariel.
Thank you. Pleasure to be with you guys.
Thanks. At this time, we're going to welcome another talented person, Carolyn Steinberg, and her beautiful musical piece that she's prepared for us. Carolyn is a composer, flutist, who have studied music composition in Europe, and she has a PhD in composition from Juilliard. And together with her husband, Chaco Ramirez, who's on the drums today, they have formed the Latin jazz quintet called Lambanda Ramirez. Her album titled Songs, Dances, Duos is available on YouTube and on CD Baby. And right after Carolyn's piece, we have a wonderful meditation prepared by Carmen Palmer, who is a retired nurse and Raj Yoga meditator for the last 23 years. Right now, Carmen is coordinating the Hope in Healthcare Initiatives, which supports healthcare professionals. And she also facilitates the Brahma Kumari's activities and classes in the Bronx, New York City. So at this time, we ask you to please open your hearts and your ears to Carolyn's composition And then we'll do the same for Sister Carmen's meditation right afterwards. So we welcome La Banda Ramirez and Sister Carmen.
Om Shanti. Now let us take the next few minutes for a meditation. I'll refer to it as a healing meditation. We'll reflect on ourselves as being healed and whole beyond the influences of what we've used to identify ourselves, country, or creed, or color, or culture, or class. We'll experience ourselves as being healed and whole. So just let's allow the body to come into a very comfortable position. Notice your breathing and allow the breath to settle into a natural, normal, comfortable rhythm. Breathe in and out, and gently allow yourself to feel calm and relaxed. Now move your attention from the outer world, from all the complexities, the relationships, the roles, the identities. Let them all slip away from your mind and turn your thoughts inwards. Begin to focus on the inner self, the real self, the self beyond the physical form. I am standing on the shore of my life, having left behind all the heaviness and the burdens, the insecurities, the burdens of the past, the anticipations of the future. I am present only in this moment. And as I look across the vast ocean of my life, I observe a brilliant light, like the sun, with an otherworldly glow, rising in the far distant horizon. It is sending me rays of light, of love, and of healing. Rays of peace, of beauty, and of wholeness. And from across the ocean, I'm being pulled towards this light. My consciousness begins to open up to the rays of sun and to the energy of the vast ocean, the unlimited ocean of the universe. I allow these rays to enter the depth of my inner being. All the empty spaces within me are becoming filled with the rays of light, of love. And suddenly, I feel drawn into this unlimited ocean. I become merged in the ocean. I can feel the gentle yet powerful waves of light, healing light, of love and peace of the ocean. Merged in this ocean, there's a sweet feeling of comfort, of safety, of lightness and easiness. There's a feeling of being healed, being liberated from everything of the past, from all past conditioning and past traumas, from the burdens of the past experiences and memories, and being liberated from all the fears, the anxieties, the limiting beliefs, from all illusions, from all that is old and useless. A deep feeling of being healed and a sense of newness come over me. Everything of the past is now where it belongs. In the past. It's all finished. And all that's left of it are the gifts, the blessings and the lessons that were merged in the stories and in the experiences. And now there's a feeling of wholeness and a deep inner sense of total and complete freedom. I am healed. I am whole. I now allow myself to sit in this awareness and the feeling of being whole, of being complete, of being free, and of being completely loved. Om Shanti.
Thank you so much, both Carolyn, for that beautiful musical jazz piece of peace. And Sister Carmen, thank you for that powerful yet peaceful meditation. I love those words. We're whole, we're healed, we're loved. Beautiful words. If you missed us on Zoom, you can always catch Breathe Peace episodes on Facebook or YouTube, both under the name Brahma Kumaris at the United Nations. The next Breathe Peace episode will be held on March 5th. We will start having our 30-minute episodes on the first Friday of every month. So please join us on the first Friday of March 5th at 5 p.m. We'll show you all of this information again in just a second. So that's all for now, folks. Okay. That's all for now, folks. With all the stuff happening globally, just know that no matter what's going on in your life right now, to stay in your happy place, and please understand that you are deeply loved by the source, and to open your heart to receive his love and light. So whatever assistance you may need at this time, you'll receive it. Peace to your heart. Om Shanti, everyone. Have a great day.